Hello, Kent Kruger here, Biological Channel. And excuse me, I had to change around to stop the sun from killing my camera, and you're going to see my face in shade a lot. I don't really care. How about this? Let me draw that Jew hat down here so I look like a brother, man. I look like Denzel Washington, my man. And here you go. I need some of this. Because from early this morning, I've been hitting hard concrete, which for an old ball player, unlike Alex Jones, the village idiot, this is episode 2 of Alex Jones, the village idiot, which he is the punchline to every bad joke in Austin, Texas. You people think that we in Austin worship Alex or think that highly of him? No, we've been taking pictures of that loser every time he screws up and lies and shit like, oh, I stopped drinking. A night later or 2 nights later, we catch him sitting all alone in a booth in an expensive restaurant where either Violet or his soon-to-be wife, where he would just get all, old babies roasted in gold foil, 4,000-year-old Egyptian death cult drunk, and they would just walk out and leave that fucker sitting all alone because he's got the credit cards and stuff like that. I guess actually at this point right now I should tell you that for you people who don't know it, the first 10 years, Alex is so bad at making money. The first 10 years of his now 23-year career, which I've known him his entire career, I told you, I've known him since he was 19 and only 170 pounds, watch him balloon up to 340 pounds and trying to start selling you shit and doing all kinds of crap. And for the first 10 years, he strictly lived off his grandparents, his parents, especially his nutty dad, which I used to be able to have some control through him. But then I eventually realized that his father was neurologically damaged from those, which Alex never talks about the fact that his father, oh, my dad's a maxillofacial surgeon. No, your dad mostly puts in fillings and stuff like that. He's been exposed to more methyl mercury, which my neighbor right over here in this direction, Rodney Sellers, was the first person who waited 10 years for the American Dental Association to publish his paper on the quantification of methyl mercury in the human mouth during the placement or extraction of silver mercury amalgam fillings. And that's what happened a lot to your dad and your family, Alex Jones, you freaking weirdo, fat boy, eating disorder, weirdo. Okay, there goes some ducks off my pond. I guess I pissed them off. Anyway, I was trying to tell you about the early days, and you know what? So many of you are so gay for Alex Jones. And I know almost everybody that's gay for Alex Jones. I know that you probably watch UFC, MMA. You even believe that American Sniper Chris Kyle was a great guy when I know better. He was a liar, and he got shot at a gun range only 20 miles away from me because he was annoying a guy who just wanted to be left alone. Come on, man up, here's a gun. And when we got out of the vehicle, I saw the computer mock-up. Got out of the vehicle, he let Chris Kyle and his buddy walk ahead, and he shot Chris Kyle in the back at least twice. So, fuck you. As I've mentioned before, I think that opioids should be taken off the market except for strictly for hospital use and never prescribed in a bottle. They're the wrong chemistry. Cannabis is the correct chemistry, but this is really all about Alex Jones, the village idiot. Let me jump ahead a little bit now. I told you a little bit about like Patty or whatever that was his gay friends and stuff were broadcasting really gay porno during the middle of the night on Austin Access. And she lost that job and immediately got hired less than a week later in Houston, and eventually got ran out for doing the same thing, which was, promoting and allowing the transmission of gay porno in the middle of the night. Same shit. And she's now disappeared forever because now she's an old, dried up old hag. Probably, she was clearly a man-hater. So if you're a man-hater, that makes you a lesbian. I don't care what you say. I don't care if you have sex. I don't care if you have children. Lots of women that are lesbians have children. Fuck you. You're all full of shit. So this is really, I'm trying to tell you and share with you somebody who actually was around all the time and in communication with more people than Alex ever was and stuff like that. I'm here to tell you about the early years of Alex Jones, the village idiot of Austin, Texas, which he's not from Austin. He was from a wealthy little community up in Dallas. But you know what? I got to point this out. Alex admitted that where his father moved was to one of those cheap clapboard houses on, I think, about 44th Street, a couple of blocks down from the Austin State Mental Hospital, which is where you belong right now, Alex Jones. And I'm even going to take a break here. I'm going to do a non sequitur. The reason I'm making these videos, I'm going to come back to talking about Alex's early years and stuff like that. But what prompted me to make these series of videos about Alex Jones was I watched, and by the way, look out for that MAGA red. Any woman in a MAGA red, which is a real woman, don't. Maybe a few Oriental ladies of the night, or something, because actually the Orientals consider, red to be a fortunate color. You can see, but there's women covering this country, one of the hottest selling colors in blouses, to these control freak Trump tards. I don't like you Trump tards. I don't like fucking liberals or libertarians or socialists or anything. I'm a total independent. I have my own political platform which doesn't agree with yours. Let's see, one of my issues is that I believe that we as a culture should follow God's command to care for the truly weak and frail. The able-bodied are to glean the fields or accept any work they can to fill their bellies and put a tarp over their head or whatever. And that's not what's happening under even Trump or the commie social liberals who make their billions of dollars by using slave labor. Recently, I've been watching the long videos. One of them was made by a Catholic couple who spent 3 months living off the wages in the same places as the people that make Nike goods. So, I should start right here by reminding you of the fact that in the beginning, Alex Jones was such a... No, really, I should go back to a point. No, I need to go back to the very, very beginning. Because I only got maybe 6 or 7 minutes left. When I started running into Alex in the studio, which you always have Mike Hansen and boxes of videos that they could, do what you fuckers do on here to get your 176,000 views and stuff like that. You over edit and you cut in stuff, and actually Alex was too smart. He was too dumb. You always had to have Mike to learn how to run an editing bay, and I didn't even do that. I just walked in and sat in front of a camera and talked for 30 to 40 minutes and would be the hit. When Alex Jones was a nobody in Austin, I was number 3 in the Nelsons in my time period, which was, they used to place me just before 60 Minutes on Sunday. So, and Alex Jones was 150 out of 150 in the Nielsen's. And early on when I was talking and chatting with Alex, he would offer me they would have like 5 pizzas or something like that up in the studio, like, hey, and all kind of, and nobody was going for it because pizza's a nasty food, and I'd walk in, I'd go like, oh, no thanks, Alex, I'm about to tape, and I had Chinese food about 2 hours ago, and I don't want to be burping or belching during my, and he would just be shoving entire pizzas down his face and stuff like that, and he was just out of control. He even did that at KGFK, his one and only real world employment, where he kept blowing through the commercial breaks. He would have food delivered and stuff like that. And I think if I have the time here, I may tell the story about Mike Hansen doing that, you know, creating the kind of crisis actor bullshit that, you know, made up that that he lives on. But before I get to that, I know I've got at least a minute or two. You know, Alex really respected my science show. He stole a lot of what he says, like about football, that whole I'm mad as hell, I'm not going to take any more Petty Chayefsky stuff. He stole that from one of my shows. The term classical liberal, which defies me, he stole that from me. He's a thief. Alex Jones is just a straight up thief. He takes from other people, doesn't give them any attribution, and he's just a fucking loser and shit like that. And I'm up to about 12 minutes. I open this, I'm going to do on this section here before I have to start uploading, because I think I'm going to do about 4 or 5 episodes on Alex Jones, the village idiot. I got to tell you something I personally witnessed via the airways, and I have just enough time to tell it. You know, Alex Jones' first real world job, he was hired by KJFK-FM, the first FM talk station ever in Texas or Central Texas. And even though he was hired by a Jew, and there was actually a guy named Kondrla who was like a Czech, Swiss, Italian, was far more popular than him. Actually, all of Alex Jones's sponsors were these adult dildo porno houses up in mostly North Austin. That's a fact. You can look it up. And but Alex was just so full of himself like that. And there's, for you, those of you who've never done radio or television, there's this big giant clock with red numbers on it that's based on the Fort Collins nuclear clock right in front of you, telling you when to fucking shut up and go to commercial break and shit like that, or when your show's over. It gives you, haven't been in a studio yet that they don't have a Fort Collins clock with like 2-inch numerals that you can see 20 feet away even if you're blind. And you know what? On KJFK FM, Alex got fired because he kept talking. He thought he was so important. He kept talking through every commercial break. He kept attacking the Jews, forgetting the guy that hired him was Jewish. And he kept attacking the Italians when the most popular guy on the station was like an Italian, Czech, Swedish. His name was Kondrla. Kondrla, I think, is actually a Slovak, not Czech, but he was adopted, etc. But, you know, Alex, oh, yeah, I got less than 40 seconds to tell you the story. One night, Alex always had a hotline. So one night, Mike Hansen took his daughter to go rent some videos. And as they were coming out of the store, they triggered the alarm. The clerk said it's okay, but the cop that was hired by the company that was standing outside where they started to chase him down, told him to stop. He ran to his vehicle, but immediately the first thing he did was hit speed dial and get on hot and live on KJFK with Alex Jones. And even with his like 4-year-old daughter with him, he didn't obey cops orders to stop and just show your receipt. There's no problem. He didn't steal anything. He got into his vehicle, locked the doors. The cop she was a tiny female cop who had a point to prove. She smashed out, I'm going in 16 minutes. She smashed out the windows, and Mike Hansen, one of the primary funders of Alex Jones, did this for pure drama and tried to sue the cops and lost because he was a fucking idiot, just like Alex Jones, the village idiot. Wait till the next episode.